Hello, sweet mermaid sisters. How are you? I am cold. I am in bed. I have nice clean hair, and I've been watching a lot of Christine McConnell's Curious Creations. It's like a goth baking show on Netflix. So I'm all like 1950s up. So today I would like to talk to you about everything I know about priestess training and how to be a Morgan priestess and what it means to be a Morgan sister. And I want to share this because I'm opening registration. Hi, Silver. Registration is still open for Morgan Le Fay Mystery School until Sunday night, when I will be in Spain, in Seville, with my boyfriend, having a wonderful time. And I wanted to tell you about what my perspective on being a priestess means, what it means to me for being a priestess, because I think it might be a bit different to other people. Who gets to call themselves a priestess, and what does it mean to be a Morgan priestess, a priestess of Morgan Le Fay, and what you have to do to kind of get there. So I am going to dive right in. Welcome to Priestess Trading in 45 minutes. I hope you can all hear me okay. So I wanted to start with what is a priestess and who gets to call themselves a priestess. So a priestess is somebody who is devoted to the mysteries of the divine feminine, and usually to sharing those mysteries with the world, sharing the energy and love and spirit of the goddess in the world in whatever way suits them, whichever way is their way to do things. So I think there are a million different ways to be a priestess. You could be like me and run a website and teach people about Morgan Le Fay and freak everyone out about Venus retrograde. Or you could be a dancer who creates exquisite beauty, and for you, that's your offering to the divine. You could create beautiful things. Or you could be a healer or a herbalist, and your offering, your priestess work, is being a herbalist or a masseuse. There's a million ways. And the point being is that everyone has their own specific kind of service that they can do. It's not necessarily one size fits all, though there is particular talents and skills that go with the priestess vocation that are important. But it's very much depends on everyone's own individual talents and abilities and things that they are passionate about. Because there's a reason you've been given these things that you're passionate about. And I believe that these things that you're good at, these things that you're passionate about, have been given to you by Goddess, so then you can go do her work better, whatever her work might be. Who gets to call themselves a priestess? Well, to be fair, there is no real barrier to entry. There's no certified central hub of rules that says you can only be a priestess if you did this, you can only be a priestess if you did this specific program for this number of years and went to this college in this part of the world. Pretty much, there's kind of the whole gamut of experience. You can literally wake up one day and go, I am a priestess. And then that can be your decision. That can be what you choose to do. Or you can, but most people, if they want to be a priestess, they want to learn. Hi, Federica. If they want to be a priestess, they want to learn how to do it well, because it is hard trying to figure it out all on your own. And part of the nature of being a priestess and the nature of working with the divine feminine is that it's not the patriarchal hero's journey when there's one person going against the odds to try and figure out his way and be the person who has achieved the American dream and the lone wolf. We're not into that. It's goddess spirituality, so it's more this and togetherness and dynamics of community, much more than one person on their own trying to figure it out by themselves. So anyone can really call themselves a priestess, but it depends on whether you feel like that's true in your heart or not. Priestess is characterized by devotion and spiritual work. So a devotion to spiritual work and a devotion to the divine. A priestess is usually thought of as a vessel for the divine or an oracle of the divine. So there is some aspect of God or the goddess that comes through the priestess. It's kind of the same, I think, in other. When I think of this, I think of our tradition of priestesses, where our job is to show up and be seen as living that goddess truth in the world and be a shining light to inspire and show other people that there is more to life than just the grey banality of patriarchy. And it also makes me think of how in the Catholic religion or in Christian religions, the role of the priest or the vicar is to kind of be that intermediary who helps people get to God and sometimes takes the place as confessor in some places because it's easier to have that human touch. It's a guide. It's the place of a guide and a spiritual inspiration. I always think of it as. I always think of priestess as both an archetype of a vessel and as an archetype of a muse that inspires the magic in other people. So there are all different kinds of priestesses. So it's not just the super serious ones who like to sit very quietly in rooms all day that get to be priestesses. The noisy ones and the super bouncy ones can be priestesses too. The ones who spend all their days making hedgerows and the ones who are badass tarot readers, all priestesses. Priestesses do not have to all be super well versed at tarot or super well versed at astrology or super well versed at all these like trad witchy new age skills. One of my teachers, who is the most powerful priestess I know, she knows fuck all about the tarot and she knows even less about astrology. But for her particular kind of priestessing is very much about embodied energetic presence of the goddess and devotion. And that's the hallmark: devotion, spiritual work, whatever your spiritual work is for your priestess path. So what does a priestess do? There are two kinds of priestess, in my opinions. There's someone who is a personal priestess who learns the arts of the priestess archetype and priestessing skills and uses them nice and quietly in their own life for their own benefit and just for their immediate circle. They're not going out and standing there like balls out naked in a marketplace going, I am a priestess, does anyone need help? They are quietly getting on and being their own vessel of the goddess, which is what I believe a priestess to be, in their own life. And for me, the personal priestess is a bit like little lamps of the goddess, little lamps that are just popping up everywhere. And they don't have to shine the biggest, but they're shining as comfortably as they are sent to. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we have public priestess, who is someone who stands up and says, hey, I'm a priestess. Does anyone need this stuff? Does anyone need to talk about this stuff? And then people are free to go, oh, yes, I'd like to talk about this stuff. That's very interesting. I would like to learn more about this. And the priestess is there to be a public face of the goddess. Yes. And that works in a number of ways. It's a weird role. It's about standing up and shining for her, standing up and being seen for her, and standing up and being available for people who need that. Being a priestess is always about service at one level. It's about service to the gods and service to her people. So often it's about serving a community, serving maybe a part of the land, and serving the gods, doing what the gods or your goddess or the goddess you feel is aligned with her will for you. Public priestess does that very publicly, a personal priestess does that privately. I believe that both count as priestess, it's just different ways to do it. My work is mostly public priestess, obviously, because I'm here on Facebook blabbering along, and other people's work can be more private priestess. I don't believe one is better than the other. They're both very important. One of the things that a priestess does is she lives her life according to the values of the divine feminine rather than the values of the patriarchy. And that is radical and that is difficult. And you can learn it and then forget it and learn it and then forget it and relearn it over and over again. And it takes a while. And that is one of the things that I believe a priestess does. Priestessing is completely against the patriarchy. It doesn't work within that framework. So it's creating and living by a new framework and a new set of rules, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time. So what in particular does a Morgan priestess do? So I am a priestess of Morgan Le Fay, and she is my main goddess, and I do stuff for her. I do stuff that I feel like she wants me to do. I get things done for her. For me, the themes of a Morgan priestess of Morgan Le Fay, were very characterized by the themes of transformation and power. Morgan Le Fay is all about transformation. She's about the spiritual path. She's about shadow work as well. And she's all about power. She's about claiming your power, owning your power, being incredibly empowered, and usually taking that up in the world and doing something about it. Morgan priestesses they don't tend to be priestesses who are really focused on the personal. There is something within them that needs to go bigger. It's really taking up the call and doing stuff with it. Just like Morgan Le Fay in the stories, where she was a powerful player in this patriarchal world, we are also, in a sense, disrupting that patriarchal world by being Morgan priestesses. In my brain, at least. A Morgan priestess has a very we are very in the twilight. We are very in not in the shadows, but we are on the boundary between the light and the darkness. So we are not always running towards the new age light and crystal healing and everything is lovely and think positively. We're not that. We very much walk the edge of the light and the love and the new age stuff and the dark stuff and shadow work. Morgan Le Fay will always ask you to look at your shadow and see what is real and what is unreal. She is a goddess of truth. And so a Morgan priestess is very committed to their own personal journey of truth and being brave enough to step up into that power. What else? I wrote shadow and light, knowing how to dance with the shadow. Witchcraft and independence. I really feel that a Morgan priestess does need to practice an element of witchcraft. It doesn't have to be a specific flavor. It's what feels right to you. But Morgan Le Fay, as a goddess and as a being, she's always been extremely associated with witchcraft and has been thought of as the patroness of witches for a long time. There's got to be some kind of witchcraft in there. And for me, witchcraft is the ability to claim your desire and your power to get it. So it's very Morgan Le Fay. Other traditions, other goddesses are more about surrendering everything to the divine and allowing the divine and the goddess to guide your life for you without you trying to push things with spells and witchery stuff. But I believe with Morgan Le Fay, part of the challenge with her is that we have to push forward and claim what we want. And through ritual and spellcraft, that's one way to really step up into our power and claim stuff for ourselves. I feel like it's a part of her journey. So that's what we do in Morgan Priestess School. What does a priestess need to learn how to do? So generally, what is it that if you want to train as a priestess, you have to learn to be good at? Well, you have to learn how to look within, look to God and move from that guidance. So the arts of a priestess are often about working with the archetype of the priestess, which is an archetype of stillness and inner wisdom, and looking within. It's a looking within for guidance rather than a looking outside for validation kind of thing. So the arts of the priestess involve learning skills such as intuition and paying attention to it and actually using it in our day-to-day lives. Connection with the divine and really feeling a clear kind of two-way communication there. So then you strongly feel, how do I put this? It's a reliance on your intuition and your higher self and a cultivation or a relationship with divinities and with God so that you kind of know what would be in line with them for you to get up to. Priestess is a vessel for a particular kind of energy or archetype. That depends a lot on the... that was a loud noise. That depends a lot on the... oh, Federica. That depends a lot on the kind of energy you are archetyping and embodying. Depends a lot on the goddess or the kind of priestess you are. For example, Priestess and Morgan Le Fay, our energy or my energy, because there's lots of different aspects of Morgan Le Fay, and you get to find out which one you are. Hooray! She is very much the high priestess archetype, so there is a lot of that priestess, just pure priestess energy that kind of run as a priestess in Morgan Le Fay. And that kind of alchemist energy. I'm also training as a priestess of Rhiannon, who is the goddess of love, because I'm obsessed with the goddess of love. That's my other obsession. I'm very greedy. And her priestess energy is just open and ecstatic and joyful and very kind of turned on kind of feeling. So it's a vessel for a different kind of goddess energy. Both goddess energies, both priestess energies, just slightly different. The flavor can be different. But the point is, as a priestess, you kind of get out of the way a little bit and you let that energy come through. A priestess needs to learn how to hold space and witness others. So what does that mean? This is a very hard thing to describe. So this is a continuation on the practice of being a vessel. It's clearing yourself out. Goodbye. It's clearing yourself out so the energy of the divine can come in and hold whoever is in front of you. Okay? And yeah, that is hard to describe. It's kind of like a process of witnessing. You can call it holding space, but it's this focused presence that you are here. And it's this radiation of this energy. And it's a thing. It makes a huge difference. And then, like, when you've been trained in it, like, I remember the other day I was running a show, and at the end of it, it all went like, it all went stress. So I went into priestess mode, which I've only just realized that that's what I do. And priestess mode is just this complete calmness. Oh, hey, Juliet. Priestess mode is just this complete kind of calmness and openness and kind of love, and there isn't much going on but you're just there and you're able to respond in a way. And something went wrong at the end of the show, so everyone was a mess, so my job was to be this calm space holding presence. And it's fascinating how much you use this stuff in everyday life without really realizing that's what you're doing. But yeah, to hold space and witness others and to see people as they are. Part of the point of a priestess is to see others without judgment and with the eyes of the divine. So There is no judgment. There is just holding and acceptance. That is a priestess skill that I think all priestesses need to know how to do. And then, of course, all priestesses also need to know how to have boundaries so they don't just like be all, I accept you for who you are divine, and then let people walk all over you. There's all these weird little boundaries because we're channeling this divine love and this goddess energy and we're emanating that in our lives. But also, we live in the real world with like Donald Trump and pickpockets and all these things, and we need to have boundaries. And the last thing that a priestess needs to learn how to do is to relax into who she is. And I think this is the most important part. Your priestessing, I believe, will only be as effective as how much you have accepted who you are. And the more you accept who you are and all your faults and your shames, and the more you have accepted everything about yourself, the better you will be able to root into your core being and do whatever it is Goddess needs you to do. Whatever it is, the reason is you have been called to be a priestess, because it's very much a calling. It's not really a career path. It's very much something that you're guided to do. It's something that you're pulled to do. And the more you're able to relax into who you are and lovingly accept everything you are, the more you'll be able to do that for everyone else. And that is a big part of the path of a priestess, being that loving presence of the divine, even if you don't think it seems like a tall order, really, but it's not that bad. It's not that difficult once you've kind of gotten used to it, but a lot of it is to do with self-acceptance. If you can't accept yourself, other people are going to feel it, and they're going to know it, and they're going to see it, and then it's going to come through. And you can't be that vessel, beautiful and pure. What is my next topic? Little drink. Zebra. Little drink. So, those are the things that a priestess needs to learn how to do. And those are the things that I think are like core things. What does a Morgan priestess need to learn how to do? So with priestesses, depending on what kind of priestess focus you have, you could be a Aphrodite priestess, you could be a Morrigan priestess, you could be a... my brain is just filled up with love goddesses and Morgan Le Fay, that's all that's in there. You could be an Artemis priestess, you could be an Athena priestess, you could be any kind of archetype of priestess. There are options, my friends. And each one of those will have specific different things that you get up to and specific different areas of study that are interesting for that particular goddess. A Morgan priestess works with the shadow gleefully. So we're always dipping in and out of shadow work because Morgan Le Fay is a dark goddess in some ways, you might say. She is all about looking into the shadows, and she takes her light and she shines her shadows in so you can see what monsters are hiding there. And then you can learn about them and then give them a cuddle and love them and integrate them within yourself so you're not afraid of them anymore. So there's this commitment to working with the shadow. Morgan Priestess also surrenders to the transformation of Morgan Le Fay. When you are doing priestess work and getting comfy. When you're doing priestess work and you are priestess of a particular goddess, a lot of that work will be about surrender to that goddess and letting her influence guide and direct your life. So if you are a devotee of Aphrodite, your work would in part be about relaxing your own control and letting her influence shine through and doing stuff that she is interested in and making that happen. And that may sound a bit scary. I mean, it did to me for a long time, being a control freak that I am, and being a little bit selfish and having a lot of like plans and ideals and goals and things I want to do. But if you're particularly called to a particular goddess, it's probably because you already resonate with that energy on some level. So if she wants to get you to do stuff, it's probably going to be stuff that you're already kind of interested in. I mean, if you're interested in Artemis and you're called to do stuff with Artemis, it's very unlikely you're going to be someone who is a couch potato and is disgusted by the idea of dirt and being outside. It just wouldn't work that way. Just wouldn't work. Yes, so there's a surrender to Morgan Le Fay and the transformation. I'm gonna fix this side of my hair. That's better. Surrender to the transformation of Morgan Le Fay and just kind of going along with what she does because she's like a big poker and a dragger and she'll do what she wants with you. That's her thing. Priestess and Morgan Le Fay also has to embrace her own kind of witchcraft. Morgan Le Fay is always associated with witches and she's always associated with sorcery and she's always associated with witchy things. So a big part of priestessing of Morgan Le Fay is being able to be that witch in whatever way that means to you. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to go along and be a Gardnerian witch or follow a specific tradition or do things a certain way. It's about finding your own way of experiencing the world and experiencing and practicing witchcraft that works for you personally. Because Morgan is very much about independence and revealed wisdom of yourself. She's not really she's much too shifty and like wavy to have a very set, this is the one way, everyone must do it the same way. And Goddess doesn't work like that generally either. Will this be available as a recording, said Juliet. Yes, it will. It's going to be recorded and it will be on here and I'll probably turn it into an MP3 as well because everyone likes MP3s. I know I do. Okay, so embraces her own kind of witchcraft. She has to be a witch. Morgan Priestess also works a lot with the energy of Avalon and is usually very interested in that energy of Avalon and has a connection with that. So there's this interesting deepening into what Avalon is and what it means to us and what it means to recreate that in the world. And part of that is working with sisters and working with others. I believe this is a part of all priestessing, but we have this story in our culture that we have to be able to do everything on our own, and not doing stuff on our own is weakness. Priestessing, goddess spirituality, that is not true at all. Our greatest strength is when we stand together, which is why we do all women's spirituality stuff in circles. That's why in paganism everything is in a circle, because it's this idea of everyone being equal and everyone joining in together. We are stronger as a team than we are alone, and we don't need to put ourselves through that loneliness to be able to be worthy or any of that shit that the patriarchy wants to get us to do. So there is usually Morgan priestesses usually end up most Morgan priestesses I know usually end up stepping up in the world in a way where they are organizing communities of people, usually communities of women, and navigating the dynamics of sisterhood in there. So we are usually quite instrumental in creating and promoting sisterhood, whether that means sisterhood in a specific women's circle-y, coven-y way, or through dance classes, or through yoga classes, or through a blog for people that really like cats wearing waistcoats. There is this element of community building and sisterhood that we cannot get away from as Morgan priestesses. It's part of who we are, it's built in, we can't not do it. And one of the big things that a Morgan priestess in particular asks us to do is step into our power and be bold enough to claim it. Morgan priestess, it is all about power. All of it is about power. It's about claiming your power and being bold enough to live from your conviction and what you want and are. And that is very, very, very challenging. Morgan is a goddess of continual transformation. So once you think you've got somewhere, she'll be like, good job, girl. Next layer. And then she'll transform you into whatever you need to be to get to this deeper level of truth and this deeper level of living what is your real and what is your desire and what is your power. So with Morgan Le Fay, there is a stepping into bigness, I believe. There is a Morgan priestess cannot not step. Morgan priestess, a Morgan priestess can't refuse to step into whatever it is that her bigger self, her actual real dreams and beauty is. They have to do it. Morgan's gonna like poke you till you get there. That's why she's so transformative, because she wants you to get through. So that is what it is like. That's what a Morgan priestess in particularly does. So what is it like to be a priestess? Kind of awesome, kind of frustrating, like many things. We grew up with these cool ideas of what it means to be a priestess. Everyone's kind of, there's this kind of power hungriness in everybody. I mean, you gotta deal with it. It is what it is. And this idea of the priestess being the best, the like top of the class spiritually wise, the expert, the priestess being respected, the priestess having power. And of course there's this old story and this image of this beautiful priestess standing on the rocks with the moon in the sky, swathed in sapphire robes, being all like moony and wistful and beautiful and oh, it's goddess. And we have this fantasy image of what it means, and then we have the reality of what it means, and they're two very different things. So the reality of what it means is constant transformation, constant challenge, constant change, and being committed to that part of the spiritual process, because spirituality isn't just about meditating on some beautiful tarot cards and feeling rose quartz and vibing out love goddess vibes. It's about engaging with your shit and dealing with that transformation, and it's constant. It does not stop, and you're never done training, never ever. It doesn't matter how many trainings you've done, you're never finished. Being a priestess, stepping up into that public priestess role usually means organizing. It means being the one who makes things happen. And it means being the one that the responsibility falls to when things go wrong. It means being the one who gets to the venue half an hour early to make sure that the stereo system works, and when it doesn't work, you have to quickly figure out a situation to fix it, and the one who picks up all the crap afterwards, and the one who cleans all the wax off all the carpets, and the one who pays out of her own pocket for when things don't financially work, and the one who deals with all the drama and usually deals with a lot of the projected stuff of people who are working through their own things about priestesses and leadership and sisterhood. As we are often leading sisterhoods, there's a lot of sisterhood drama as people try and work through their own sisterhood wounds, and things come up and they just like instinctively just react to stuff. You know how it is. We're just people. And then priestess does bear the brunt of that a lot. And so yeah, it's not really the super glamorous, sexy life that we would like it to be. But it is very beautiful, and if you're called to it, you can't not do it. Even though you know it's not beautiful and perfect all the time, even though sometimes it's shitty, you can't not do it. It's a calling, I think. I'm always going to be doing this, even though it's In some ways, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And in other ways, it's the easiest thing I've ever done. Hey, delicious contradiction. But yeah. Whew. So that is what it is like being a priestess. Oh, another thing. Because there's not like a theology college that everyone goes to, it's a lot, no matter how much you are working within sisterhood, a lot of it is you figuring out what it means for yourself. And there's that element of independence and ability to rely on yourself that you have to nurture and grow and cultivate, because you are the one that always has to make the decisions as to what is right for you. There isn't someone else. You're the one who has to interpret and understand and feel that divine energy and know how it translates. You're the one that has to translate this and hope that you got it right. Yeah. So it's if you're called to do it, you're gonna have to do it, because you're not gonna get away from it. But it's not the super cool glamorous thing that we all think it is. How do you become a priestess? And next question. Okay. How do you become a priestess? You do the work. That is it. Priestess is measured by her actions, not by her thoughts, not by what she wishes she could do. And that involves being very brave, because just the act of claiming yourself as priestess or as witch is kind of in direct opposition to what our culture expects of us, and it's a bit weird. So we have to be brave in that aspect. And we have to be brave enough to do something about it. I don't believe that if you're a priestess who's like, oh, I'm a priestess, and you don't really do anything about it, you're not actively committing to service of some kind, whether that's in your even in your smallest community. I don't think it counts. Federica says being a priestess has so much more to do with scratching wax from a carpet at the end of a ceremony than with fancy dresses. Yes. In fact, being a priestess is when you learn that fancy dresses are actually incredibly impractical, and it's best to just be wearing like the same singular, simple jersey dress all the time, because everything else just gets wax on it, or gets candles on it, or gets stained by oils. It's yes. So, yes, being a priestess is measured by your actions. You figure out what it means to you, and you go fucking do it. That's my standard for priestessing. What does it mean to you to be a priestess? Go fucking do it, and then see what we all think. I guess. It's training helps. Figuring it all out on your own, there will always be an element of you deciding what is right for you, but trying to do it on your own is very exhausting, and you don't have to. Of course, you can wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm a priestess of the goddess, and we can't argue with you, because it's not a certificate factory, it's something you decide for yourself. You can only be a priestess if you've got to the part where you can claim it for yourself, where you can claim it and believe it and feel it in all of your body. You can go through as many initiations as possible, but if you can't claim it on your own, it doesn't work. You can't be looking for outside validation, because it has to come from within, because that's where it all comes from. Your personal connection with yourself foremost, and with the divine. So if you can't claim it for yourself, it's not real. At least that's my opinion. So there are lots of different training systems to become a priestess. I have one. It's going to be awesome. You should totally come. Wink. You don't need to have a training system. I've been in a few. My training has been a mix of my own personal revelation, training in a couple of different programs, taking bits from one, bits from the other, leaving bits from this one, a lot of research, taking a lot of courses, and kind of figuring out what really works for me. But it's always work. And even though I'm a priestess and I work as a priestess, I am always going to be training non-stop because I want to be good and I want to be better and I want to be able to do the best work I can. And I think that is a commitment that happens when you are becoming a priestess. You commit to doing and being the best you can at this, and that involves sometimes taking classes, and that involves reading books, and that involves trying out new things and making mistakes and taking action, because you can't be an armchair priestess. You can't just sit there and say I'm a priestess and do nothing about it. It's an action role, in my opinion. Even if that action is just I am spending 20 minutes every single day vibing out the energy of my goddess and being a guardian, a litter guardian for the area in which I live, and giving offerings and stuff. Even if it's that small scale, it's taking action. Action has to happen. How do you become a priestess? You're always learning. It's a spiritual discovery. You'll never be done. You'll never be done. You'll think, I've got somewhere. And then it'll all go out from under your foot. And then you have to relearn the next layer because it's just a series of layers. Training helps. You don't have to do it alone. One of the biggest lessons is learning to not do everything on our own. And the big lessons is that shift between from the patriarchal way of doing things to the feminine way of doing things, which is big because the world isn't set up to support that, and that's why we come together in sisterhood, because otherwise it's too hard. We forget we need help, and it's okay to need help, and it's okay not to be perfect. Priestesses are not perfect. They're just people. I'm just a people. You're just a people. We're all just people. And the more people join together and love and support each other and help each other through things, the better people all the people can be. So you don't have to be the lone wolf. I think it's against goddess religion to try and be a lone wolf in a way. We work through communication and loveliness. Oh, thanks, Dominic. That's lovely. Anything else about how do you become a priestess? You just fucking do it, friends. If you want to become a priestess, just fucking do it. And then use your own guidance and intuition on what are the right things for you. There will be lots of different trainings and options and things you can do. One of the things that I have found difficult on my journey is getting pulled towards things I felt I should do, but weren't necessarily right for what I need to do. Your journey could be weird. It could not look like something simple, and it's much easier to programs and certificates and Precess training programs are very, very lovely because they give you a feeling of, if they're good, they train you well to do what you want to do, and they give you a feeling of validation and who am I to claim this? Oh yeah, that's who I am, it's fine. Because there's a team of people with you to teach you and train you that yes, you are allowed to claim this. We give you permission. But no one person can give you that validation to be whatever priestess you are. It has to come from here. And your job as badass priestess or priestess in training is to decide what works for you. The biggest things that have helped me on my journey have been dropping out of a priestess training program. Oh my god, that was the worst thing. That was heartbreaking. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have actually learned the things that I needed to learn in my life and in my spiritual practice and in my witchiness and in my ability to respond to things to actually become a priestess. So sometimes it's fucked up and it's not as simple as you think it should be. So, last few minutes. Training plan. If you want to train as a Morgan priestess, what would you do? So if you love Morgan Le Fay and that energy of Avalon and that kind of witchy, dark sinking into yourself and your truth kind of power priestessing, of course you can join me for Morgan Le Fay Mystery School, which starts in a couple of weeks. Training and registration is open for that until Sunday night, and it's going to be really fucking cool, so you should totally come. But if you can't get on that this year, or if you just want some guidance in your search for your own what is right for you, you've got to find a shadow work method that works for you. You have to start engaging with the things that you keep hidden and the things that drive you. And usually the things that are running your show are the things that hide in the shadows that you want to ignore and look at. So Morgan is going to ask you to look at that shit, and she's going to ask you to find a way to process it and deal with it so it doesn't rule you anymore. You cannot step into your own power. You're being ruled by a tiny little demon inside you that tells you that all men are bastards, or that you're never going to be enough because it's not safe to do this work. You have to get on that and cook it away. Another thing about shadow, you can never get rid of it. You can't banish it. It's part of you. It's always going to be there. It's just a process of loving it and integrating it. You're never going to be able to get rid of the fact that, I don't know, I can't think of a great. You'll never get rid of the fact that when it comes to, I don't know, certain romantic situations, you always react in anger, even when it's completely unjustified. That's just a part of your shadow, but you can get to a place where you are aware of that and you notice it, so then it doesn't happen, and then you can love and accept yourself for it instead of hating yourself for it. Oh, Olivia, that's so lovely. Thank you so much. So sweet. Oh my goodness. I'll answer these beautiful questions in a minute. I'm rocking through. So you got to find a shadow method that works for you. If you want to train as a Morgan Priestess, you have to align with the Priestess archetype, the pure essence of the Priestess archetype, because that is Morgan Le Fay. She is the High Queen of Avalon. She is the ultimate High Priestess of the Island of Priestesses. So it's really that interesting alchemical space holding here but not here. That archetype is something we have to hold and something we have to be able to open to and rock out. That is the energy we are vibing and aligning with. If you want to train as a Morgan Priestess, you've got to get your mythic eyes on. And by that I mean we're working with Avalon, which is the, in my mind, undercurrent of the mythic landscape, of the landscape of beauty in our world, of the spiritual essence of the land. The land is the goddess. Goddess is the land. Goddess is everything. So we need to get our mythic eyes on and stop seeing ourselves as separate and really begin interacting with the world as being filled with other creatures of consciousness. The trees have their own consciousness. The plants are their own beings. Waking up to the fact that we are not little separate people that live on our heads and everything else is out there and it's kind of dead because it's not a person. It's really connecting with that interconnectedness of life and opening up to synchronicities and signs and magical happenings. I call it mythic eyes because the world seems like a more mythic and magical place. And it's just a different way of looking at the world. It's not normal for normal culture, but it also works beautifully. If you want to train as a Morgan Priestess, research, explore, try things out. If you're interested in something, go for it, explore it, go all in. If Morgan's pushing you to something, go explore it, go all in. Silver asks, she feels Morgana is calling me to do and learn womb healing and womb work. Is this linked to her underworld aspect? I think that's linked to her Silver Anderson aspect. If she's pushing you to do that, then there's something there she wants you to learn. And not everything is specifically related to Morgana and her aspects. She nudges us for our own journey. She pushes us to the parts where we need to go for our journey. That would more be her initiatrix aspect, or her I would call it the initiatrix aspect. That's her center aspect rather than one of her wheels. So that is her pushing you to go and learn this stuff because it would be good for you, and that's something that she would like you to do and explore. If you join us in Morgan Mystery School, I can always make you go and research about that and then tell us about it as one of your assignments. Ooh, ooh. So I'd say that the womb healing and womb work stuff would be, in my mind, that would be more her as her lover aspect, her fairy lover and the mysteries of sexuality, the light and the darkness of sexuality. And it's also her Avalonian sister archetype because it's to do with women for women. And in Morgan Mystery School, most of the herbs and things that we are learning to work with, they are women's herbs. They're herbs that are very often associated with women's menstrual cycles, which makes sense because Morgan Le Fay is a goddess of women, the Isle of Women. What else would you have to do if you wanted to train as a Morgan Priestess? Research, explore, try things out. That's what I said. She'll send you on little adventures and you gotta go find it out. I always think of Morgan Le Fay, one of her aspects is that of scholar. In all her stories, she learned and she studied and she went after things she was interested in. So she has this powerful pathfinder, researcher, scholar aspect of her, or at least her priestesses have this very powerful scholar research aspect because we boldly go and explore the things that we're interested in and bring back the gold from our adventures. If you want to be a Morgan priestess, you have to work with other women. Morgan worked in a circle of 9 sisters, so she was always working with other women. It's never one person who does it and then there's like a load of followers. It's a group effort. Some people have things that they are great at and less great at. That's okay because one of their friends will be great at the stuff they suck at. Just like in my show, I'm really good at graphic design. I can knock out our posters and make all our promo look incredible. I am shite at finances and accounts. So I do the graphic design. My friend, who is crap at graphic design, by the way, does the accounts. I don't have to be everything. If you want to train as a Morgan priestess, you have to embrace your witchiness. Morgan is a witchy goddess. So in Morgan Mystery School, we are doing quite a lot of work on embracing witchiness and figuring out the brand of witchiness that works for us through rituals and spellcraft and herbcraft and all these cool witchy things. It's going to be great. And the most important thing you need to do if you want to train as a Morgan priestess is be brave. It takes a lot of guts to do this. It takes a lot of guts to be a priestess and claim that as your path and claim that as your life. I think it takes an awful lot of guts to step up as a Morgan priestess because she will push you and challenge you to go bigger and be more exposed and be more vulnerable and be more yourself than you ever thought you ever could be and you ever thought would ever be comfortable. You have to be brave as fuck to do this work. But the rewards are magical and amazing. It will get to the point where your life looks like what you fantasized about 10 years ago, but then you're there and you're like, oh, I have this new fantasy now. What I have is, it's just so normal. It gets to those kind of places. She's a big pusher. So if there's a secret big life inside you that is crying to be released, she will push you to the brink until you have to do that, and there's no holding back. She wants you, completely as you are, just you, being you to the max, nothing else. And I think that's all any goddess wants. That's all anybody wants from a priestess. They need you to be as you as possible, so then you can do whatever it is you have to give the world to the best of your ability. Because we're all individual and we all have our own little mix of individual unique skills and abilities, and they combine to make something that is going to be so important to somebody. somebody out there will need exactly what you have, and it could be in a priestessy capacity, like me blabbing on the internet, or it could be that your particular mix of spirituality and veterinarianism is so perfect for this. I don't know, all these people with schnauzers with poorly legs or whatever. I don't know. There will be something that you have that by you being you is exactly what she wants you to do. Whew, I was only 10 minutes over. That's not bad, Demi. So that is my everything I know about priestess training and how to be a priestess and how to be a priestess of Morgan Le Fay squeezed into 45, 55 minutes. Registration for Morgan Le Fay Mystery School is open until Sunday. It's going to be a really, really cool journey of working with Morgan Le Fay through all her aspects on the Wheel of the Year, learning her skills of herbcraft and witchery and sisterhood and oracling, working with the priestess archetype, with sacred sexuality, with grail mysteries, healing, all kinds of cool shit. All the Morgan things. It's going to be like a giant all-year Morgan party. Oh, and a lot of shadow work as well. But it's going to be fun, don't worry. So that's open until Sunday night. If you dig what I do and would like to come on that path with us, if you have any questions, now is the time to write them in before we pop off in 4 minutes. Morgan Mystery School is... we have this whole curriculum where we're working with her different aspects and deeply into these things, and you have like weekly lessons and stuff, and it's going to be very powerful and awesome. But at the same time, it's partly that curriculum and partly you working with me to figure out what you is, bruv. So then we can figure out what we can get you to relax into your you-ness, what it is about you that is what there is about you that is really important for you to nourish and nurture and love and fucking rock out as a priestess, as a rockstar priestess. Come join my coven. Oh, Silver says, do you see a link between Morgana and Hecate? I do. I don't know if other people do. I feel they come from the same I'm gonna say brand of underworld witchy goddesses. Hecate is the patroness of goddesses and the crossroads and the in-between times and the places between the underworld and the light. She was the one that saw Persephone be taken by Hades because she guards that boundary, in my brain at least, and my understanding. Morgana is similar. She's goddess of witchcraft who guards the boundary between this world and the other world, this world and death. And she doesn't fit in the patriarchal narrative. Hecate does not fit in the patriarchal narrative of the Greek stories that we know nowadays. She is kind of an anomaly. She's too powerful to be left out. She's too powerful to be comfortable with within the patriarchy. And Morgana's the same. She works with the boundaries and the fierceness of female power that isn't always pretty, that isn't always beautiful, that patriarchy is scared of. I think there is a very definite link between them. I'd say that they are sisters from different families. That's what I would say, but I don't know if Hecate experts would agree with me. Dominique says that she lives in Hawaii, but it still makes sense for me to do the training. Yes, Avalon and Morgan Le Fay isn't just specific to England or places that look like England. Morgan is a way of revealing who you are and stepping up into your power, and that's what the training is for. It's to get you to work with the Wheel of the Year to learn Morgan's skills, so then you can step up into whatever the fuck it is that makes you and makes you powerful, and whatever it is that your actual work's going to be in the world. Could be like what I do, could be fucking nothing like what I do, but whatever it is, it's going to be awesome. In the training, we work online for the first, I think it's 11 months, and then we join together in Glastonbury. So there is a retreat at the end, but it's just one, so you just have to come to Glastonbury once in the UK, and we spend a lot of time on the earth doing ceremonies, doing ritual, traveling. I want to take you to Stonehenge, I want to take you to Avebury, I want to take you to the ancient marshes, I want to take you horse riding. I'm trying so hard to make that happen, guys. And doing like, I want to make perfumes as well. That's on my list. I want us to make essences. Oh, there's so many things I want us to do. But yes, we'll have this magical. Okay. This magical week. It's 5 days in Glastonbury. So there is a retreat at the end of the year that is kind of mandatory, because to ground in the energy of Morgan Le Fay, it's really good to go to her power place and really feel that energy, because you feel it in Glastonbury. That's where she lives. That's where she hangs out. That's one of her portals. And it's not the only place in the world where she has that influence. There's a forest, Brocéliande, which I probably am saying wrong, in France, which I believe is very linked with her, and there are other places, but Glastonbury is my place, so we have a Glastonbury at the end. But yeah, it still makes sense to the training wherever you are in the world. It's not landscape specific. Silver says that she totally feels the connection between Morgan and Hecate. Haha, you have a type of goddess, I see. Federica says, how will the whole path be led? Practically, will there be PDFs and assignments? So the whole course works. We have a course platform called Teachable where everything lives, so you can just go there and go, oh, I want to do some Priestess stuff. So you just go there, and then you can see all the lessons, you can see all the extra work, all the meditations and PDFs and colouring and stuff. It's all there. Every week there is a new lesson and new assignments. There will be very clearly said what is the, I guess, minimum requirement lesson, the minimum requirement thing you need to do this week, because we don't always have loads of time for this shit, let's be real. We're very busy. And then there will be additional things you can do which would help deepen if you have time, but you don't have to. And so times when you have lots of time to devote to this stuff, you'll have lots to do. And times where you don't, you know exactly what you need to do to keep on this specific path. It's all held on a nice course site, and there are PDFs, there are assignments, there are meditations, there are talks, there are going to be interviews with important people discussing aspects of priestessing and topics that we're going to be working with. There will be shadow work, there will be sister circles where we talk together as a coven, because that's very important to foster that connection with each other. There will be one-on-one time with me every season, so 8 times a year. If it needs to be more, I think we can work that, but at the moment we're going with 8 times a year. You get to talk to me and I get to make sure you're doing okay. There are rituals. We do rituals, live group rituals, a bit like in Morgan Le Fay Mystery School. The workload is different if you've done mini Morgan Le Fay Mystery Schools. So I do a summer school and a winter school. The workload is different. Those ones are like, here's everything, blah, and then you kind of left there to kind of flounder and be a bit shell-shocked by all the stuff I'm trying to get you to do. The training program is a bit calmer than that. It's structured in a way so that you can actually get stuff done without feeling like you're behind all the time. There are options for extra stuff you can do, but it's always really clear what you actually have to do. The rest of it's just games and fun and playing around. Does that make sense? Cool. Well, I hope you have enjoyed everything that I know about priestess training and how to be a Morgan priestess squeezed into 1 hour and 5 minutes. I have loved talking to you all. I'm gonna pop this on an MP3 so you can listen to it in your own time if you wanted to do that again or make notes or anything. Yeah, so it has been so lovely to connect with you. If anyone has any questions about Morgan Le Fay Mystery School Priestess training, you can always just pop me a PM or pop a question in the Mermaid Sisterhood Facebook group. Or, yes, those are the best options. Or you can email me at rockstarpriestess@gmail.com. And yes, it has been lovely to talk to you all. I'll see you soon. Bye.